Hello and welcome to the People Space podcast. The name is Wenson Mavor, and today we'll be discussing the Constituency Development Fund, looking at whether it is delivering or not, and of course, looking at some of the nitty gritties with regards to tobacco control in Zambia, and to be able to provide some insights on these important topics. I'm privileged to be joined by it is a member of Parliament, Honorable Twaambo Mutinta. Honorable, you're welcome to this session of the People Space podcast. Yeah, we're glad to have you. So, Honorable, first, before we get into our conversation, we have a tradition on the People Space podcast where we first of all want to know our guests a little bit, besides the title that you carry and also the good work that you do. So, who is Twaambo Mutinta outside, your political portfolio and the work that you do?
uh, is a member of parliament for Itezitezi, a family man who was born in 1983 in a small town called Kalomo, who went to school at Green Acres Primary School and eventually went to Kalomo Secondary School, where he did his GCE or grade 12 exams and eventually decided to take a path or a career of teaching. And Twaambo went to Nkrumah College of Education, where he pursued a diploma in teaching and later on worked briefly as a teacher and went back to the University of Zambia to pursue a first degree. And from the University of Zambia, he joined the civil society and worked for Oxfam Great Britain for 6 years. And Twaambo is somebody who grew up with a political mind, wanting to know what's happening out there. And during my time in the civil society and the little time in the government, I was involved in a lot of youth movements. I was involved in a lot of political activisms. Even when I was in government, I was involved in political activism, which maybe is not correct or it is incorrect. But I need to tell you the truth that that is what my life was all about. So I started getting an interest to understand what's happening in the community. I developed interest in being a volunteer. I volunteered for a media organization called the Testezi Community Radio Station. I was one of the pioneers there, and I was exposed to a lot of media capacity building. I think I was one of the products of the VIT Radio Academy. I went with people like Macpherson Mutale and a lot of guys. Perhaps you guys were not yet in the media. I might mention some of the odd guys like Mongo Meya. He's one of the guys. I don't know if you know that he's one of the media guys. I worked with him in the media. I was trained by people like Julius Daka, the owner of Breeze FM. There's a man called Ankonedi Chivube who is based in Mumbwa, and people like Weddington Moyo. These are some of the guys I think we were interacting when I was in the media fraternity, and I have quite a lot of friends in the media fraternity. I might not mention names. Some of them are the guys that you work with. And I think from that background, you cannot disconnect the media from politics. And I think from that background, I started developing politics. And while working in Itestes, I saw the type of leadership which was there. And I could see that there was political emptiness in the people that were governing that constituency. Despite myself not coming from Itestes, by the way, I come from Choma. I didn't have a single relative. But the activism that I was doing in the community, my connection with the people that were my pupils, and the work that I delivered there when I was in the civil society, it made it fit that the people needed to look for somebody who was quite youthful to be their member of parliament. And my motivation was to go into politics and strike a difference. The mistakes that the previous members of parliament did in the last 10 years was the motivation why I needed to go into parliament. And my motivation was to go and do exactly the opposite of what they were not doing right. And that was my motivation. And the young people, they came in large numbers asking me to be their representative. One of the reasons was I was the only aspiring member of parliament who had 8 houses within Itestes and who was staying in Itestes. out of the other aspirants, none of them had a home in Itestezi. I'm the only one who had a home. I was the only member of parliament where the young people could connect, where the young people could talk to. And the young people made a decision that they needed a paradigm shift in terms of the quality, first of all. Also, quality, I think I was the only one who had the quality for the modern member of parliament. By the way, politics is evolving. A lot of people are failing to fit into politics because there is a certain kind of politics which is required now. So I was one of the aspirants who they thought was going to fit into the modern and the contemporary perspective of what it takes to be in politics. And that is how, out of this background, I found myself on the ballot in 2021. And I was attempting first time. I got over 29,000 votes, more than any other person who was sitting on a ballot paper in Itestezi. So I got this support, and I know it came with the courtesy of the young people. And I've decided that I will not detach myself from the people who gave me this vote. And from 2021 to date, even as I roll the CDF, as I take development, I've continued to put the young people at the center of development because I'm a product of a youth vote.
So let's talk about, as you are saying, rolling out the Constituency Development Fund to be the driving force of development in Itezitezi. From your assessment, how has the Constituency Development Fund fared in your constituency? Has it delivered for the people?
Thank you so much. So sometimes, Watson, I imagine if I was a member of parliament without the Constituency Development Fund. I know I've got a lot of networks in the civil society, having worked for over 6 years. I have a lot of network in the academia, having been to different universities, met different people, met different minds, both from the academic and from the development space. By the way, in my academic endeavor, part of my master's degree was development studies, and also another master's degree was on social protection management. So when you look at my academic background, it brings a development focus. And I want to mention that if I was a member of parliament without the existence of Constituency Development Fund, I know I could have attempted to pull development from different sectors, but I could have not been what my aspiration is supposed to be as a member of parliament. Now, the coming of Constituency Development Fund, particularly for me, who is representing a constituency that before I became a member of parliament, there's no single bridge which was ever constructed. By the way, Itestezi is about 27 years old. It was born in 1997 from Namwala. In the history of the existence of Itestezi, no single bridge was ever constructed by central government. Itestezi has 820 feeder roads. In the 27 years of its existence, no single feeder road was graded by government. Itestezi, in the last 27 years of its existence, it had a population of 28,000 learners in the schools. But today, we're talking about 41,000 children in schools. In the existence of Itestezi, 27 years of its existence, it only had about 428 classroom blocks for 28,000 learners then before the free education, with a deficit of 78% classroom space. I'm giving you a background. Here is a constituency with a huge deficit of water, and there was no hope that they will ever have safe, clean drinking water. Here is a constituency where there was no single woman in its history who has acquired a loan empowerment from government, except for Hammer Mills from Ministry of Gender. Here is a constituency where there's no single youth cooperatives ever accessed a contract from ZESCO, a contract to do desks. So I'm setting the stage. Now came Constituency Development Fund. which was 1.5 million, now over 30 million. So I want to make mention that constituencies like Itestes, if the UPN government didn't come into power, and if the president did not make a deliberate decision to take the money to the people, to move the money from Lusaka and lump it to the people, and as if that is not enough, the people are not just given money, the people are also given the voice. The people are also given the opportunity to choose what they want. What a government waits on. And what a best time to be a member of parliament. Because here's a government that has empowered the rural areas which were neglected for so long. Now, what has the Constituency Development Fund done? Waits on. Within a shortest period of time, and because of having a member of parliament who is organized, because it's about leadership, it's not everywhere these things are happening. Let me start with the road sector. 820 kilometers never graded in the history of Itestes. Today, we have procured all the yellow machines. First time from Kaunda, Itestes has procured all the yellow machines. We're only remaining with a truck that should carry the machinery. We have procured the tipper truck, we have procured the grader, we have procured a front loader, we have procured the compactor, we've procured the water bowls. Which one? That is unheard of. Such things were only visible during Kaunda before you and me were born. Our council has that equipment to do our own roads. As I'm speaking now, we did a road going to Chief Musungwa. We did another road going to Masasabi Farming Block. We are yet to do a road going to Chief Musungwa. And right now, we are grading our own national road, which was supposed to be graded by central government. We have even managed to divert money which was supposed to be meant for a school, for a clinic. We have taken that money to a national road so that we make the road that takes us to Itetes passable. All that is coming from CDF. You can imagine if there was no CDF, we could have been living without these roads I've mentioned. Even our national road that is still waiting for government funding for it to be put on full bituminous. It is being worked on as a result of the equipment we bought and the fuel that we are sourcing from CDF. That is just the road sector. But if I tell you that even garbage within Itestes, we are now able to move the garbage from the township because of the equipment we got from CDF. So these are some of the things in a nutshell. And we have now invested a lot of money. Our vision is that going forward, we want to do a lot of roads in our constituency. You cannot go and construct a clinic. You can't go and construct a school where the roads are impassable. Now, here's a constituency where it has never had the time when it invested in the road network. 21 kilometers township roads never been worked on in its history. 820 feeder roads never have been worked on in its history. The national road, the road under RDA, which takes you to Itestes, it's about 320 kilometers. Never been worked. It was abandoned by the PF government before they lost the elections. So here is the situation we're in. And if we did not have CDF, the situation could have been worse. But
What are some of the challenges that you're facing with regards the administration of the Constituency Development Fund as you attempt to address the local community needs?
now, before I come to the challenges, it will be very important that I do not just touch the road sector. There are other key essential sectors that briefly, maybe I'll just give you statistics so that I don't hear about it a bit more because this can take us 3 hours. In the Ministry of Education, here is a constituency that had only one secondary school. Imagine for a population of over 43,000, one secondary school. What are we doing? Right now, we're constructing another secondary school using CDF. We're doing girls' dormitories in a place called Imbira. To complement what government is doing through World Bank, we're also doing additional dormitories for the girls. Here are the girls who are renting in the market, coming from villages. And you know what that puts the girls at risk. We are doing such facilities. We have done 39 classroom blocks in a space of less than 3 years. 39 classrooms. So we started reducing that 79 classroom deficit. That's the education sector. When we had schools with a population of over 1,000 children crowding in a 1x3 classroom block. We have transformed schools like Itese's primary school, the township school, where some of the aspiring presidents, where some of the past members of parliament went to. If you went today and see what we have done at that school, you'll be shocked. The school had a bill of 30,000 kwacha from the water utility company. Today we have put a borehole. We have cleaned the school. We have done a renovation of about 8 classroom blocks. We have even put a classroom block for the disabled. That is what we have done in the education sector. Further, there is no single child right now who sits on the floor in it says. We found less than 2,000 desks to cover 28,000 learners. Today we have 42,000 learners and we have done over 5,000 desks. There's no child who is sitting on the floor. Today, using CDF, we have electrified not less than 18 classroom blocks, and not less than 14 clinics from the CDF. Today, we have done not less than 200 boreholes. I know the problem is too very big, especially in the urban township. Not less than 200 boreholes as a result of CDF. Today, we have given not less than 38 cooperatives empowerment grants. We have given not less than 25 women and youth groups loans. And we have spent not less than 20 million in terms of loans and grants as a result of CDF. Today we have seen women that are participating as contractors in CDF. First time in the history of it, a woman is constructing a school. So these are some of the many things that we don't want to take for granted. They are as a result of the good decision which was made to take the money closer to the people and also to start transforming the rural areas. Because money was sitting in Lusaka, a lot of rural areas, they were not benefiting. So CDF is a typical example of rural transformation. And this is how a country should be governed. Development should be spread everywhere. And the rural people, the people in the rural areas, they are not like the urban people. They're not like you. The urban people, they are looking at individualized benefits. The rural people, they are looking at communal benefits. The people in the rural areas, what they are crying for are the things that the government is doing now. They want schools. They want water. They want clinics. They want deep tanks. We've done deep tanks in ETSS. They want water closer to their homes. They've been staying without clean, safe drinking water. If you went to see the water they drink, you can be ashamed. They want bridges, simple foot bridges. They make over 300 children not to go to school in the rainy season. These things, they might look very basic to you who is in Lusaka, but these are the things that are making the people in the rural areas happy, and they are making the people in the rural areas believe in the agenda of this government, because this is the first government, that has taken development to the rural people. This is the first government that has given an opportunity for your grandmother to decide what she wants. First time in the history of this country. Your grandmother today, she can choose whether she wants a school or she wants a clinic. It's through the European government. So these are the momentous investments that are taking shape in the rural areas for the first time as a result of CDF. But I want to mention that the journey has not been smooth. There's been a lot of challenges. I'll give you an example that before I became a member of parliament, ETSS had less than 100 registered cooperatives. Today, ETSS has over 3,000 registered cooperatives. What does it mean? All these cooperatives, they want to benefit, but not everyone can benefit at the same time. Civil society has received complaints that certain people are not benefiting, others are not benefiting. When you hear of CDF 30 million, it's not the entire 30 million that will be used for loans. So someone will think, you were given 30 million but did not get a loan. No, the component for loans is only 2 million. And when you want to divide my constituency with 15 wards, if you want to divide 2 million, how many people are you going to give? So there are those numerous complaints that are emerging. No, we're not benefiting. The truth of the matter is you cannot give everyone. And when you have a ward like a constituency like mine, 15 wards, on average, you're talking about giving 3 people per ward. if you are to divide that 2 million into maybe 200,000 kwacha. So such complaints have been emerging, and I've given you the reason why such complaints come. These monies are meant to revolve, and they might not be enough to benefit everyone. However, I also want to mention that one of the major challenges we've been experiencing is a bad culture, which was left by the previous government of people not wanting to pay back their loans. Major challenge. And also, I want to also put on record that the way government has structured the loans, it's not the CDF committee to decide who should get a loan. It's the bank, because the bank is concerned about the risk, and they will not give anyone a loan for the sake of giving. They will look at the quality of the proposal, and that is why we have a problem. And that is why the civil society has not helped us. Civil societies are hovering around Lusaka. Instead of going to the rural areas like it says, where the women are illiterate, the women can't read, the youths are illiterate, to go and support them to come up with bankable proposals, to come up with proposals that would transform the communities. And this is not happening. And that is why we also have a gap. So these are some of the challenges. Then I also want to preempt you that you've heard people saying the burning rate for CDF is very low. There's money sitting, people are not spending. But I want to give you a perspective to that. There is no civil society. If I'm to give an example, because I'm coming from civil society, so I will refer to what was happening. There's no civil society that spent its money as it was supposed to be spent. If a project was supposed to start in January and end in December, they will even ask for what is called the no-cost extension. Even them, they will not finish the money within the 12 months. Because in project implementation, there will always be challenges. I'll give you an example for it. I'm one of the constituencies that are doing very well in terms of burning rate. But I'm just giving an example. The terrain of it can only allow you to spend CDF in 6 months. Because from March, April, May, June, July, over 7 wards, they're impassable. You can't go there unless you want to go with a chopper. So what does it mean? All the contractors who are on site, they have to demobilize. And the money will sit in the bank. That is just an example of a scenario. The other scenario is the work culture in the councils. Because there's no single member of parliament who implements CDF. I am not an implementer of CDF myself. It's the council. And I hope you know the difference between implementation and providing oversight. So the council has engineers, the council has director of works. They are the ones who do the day-to-day implementation of CDF. Members of parliament are not even members of a council. I hope you are aware that a member of parliament is not a member of the council. And that is why the president is telling us to bring back the butane. The reason why butane should come back is bringing back the member of parliament in the council. So how do I become a member of parliament? Providing oversight to the CDF that I'm not a member of. I'm just a member of the CDF committee, but I'm not a member of a council.
On the same, being a member of the CDF committee, you do have to a larger extent influence on the projects, okay, that ultimately are selected or where funds should be channeled. And some critics have said to this same particular thing that it doesn't really give the councils the liberty that they should have to be able to, because remember, politicians always go there. There was even a debate here in Lusaka. I won't say which member of parliament is, but this member of parliament was accused, or it was said he would sit in a meeting and be able to tell them, he would wait for them to talk. When they are done, he would just say, okay, we are doing this road, we are doing that boho, we are doing that, we're doing, and those are the things, those ultimately would end up influencing the elections and everything. So what do you say to that?
That's no. It's not possible that a member of parliament should not sit in the CDF committee, because you should also understand the background of the Constituency Development Fund, and you should also understand that the member of parliament, he has an agenda to deliver development, and he has got promises he makes, which are both developmental and that are aligned to the context of the people. So if you want to disalign the member of parliament from the Constituency Development Fund, then I wonder what will be the role of a member of parliament. Now, it's also very important for people to understand how the Constituency Development Fund is structured. So, I myself have been a member of parliament for over 4 years, and I've never influenced a decision in the Constituency Development Fund Committee. I can influence a decision in this manner. Let me give an example of the decision that I've been influencing, and that has worked. 2 months ago, I went in all the wards. I was influencing them to do 2 things on it. And what I was influencing them was, 1, this year, as much as possible, I was talking to the WDCs and I was talking to the councillors that this year in 2026 CDF, I was begging them to prioritize water and roads on it. And I was very happy last week when I sat in the CDF committee, I discovered that the majority of them, they've put water. Why was I asking them to put water and roads? Because I understand the need of the people. Now, if I don't go in the community and the lobby that they should apply for water and bridges, if I sit in the CDF committee and I discover that these people, they've applied for courts, they want a court, and they don't want water, I've got no powers to change. Because when we sit in the CDF committee, we receive reports from each and every ward. And when we sit in the CDF committee, we pick the rankings which they make. So my level of influencing is to the WDCs who are going to do the minutes and send them to my committee. What the CDF committee only receives. The CDF committee, it will not change that. This ward, they wanted the court. Can you remove this court? Can you put what? I don't have those powers. And that is the misconception that people should also understand. If there's a member of parliament who could change what the people want, he puts what he wants. What is the basis of his change? Because there are minutes that come with a report which came from the ward. And those minutes, by the way, they are signed by the chief rep, they are signed by the councillor as an ex-official of that ward. What we do, we receive. And when we receive those proposals, we rank them. For example, depending on the availability of money, this ward wants a court as priority number 1. It wants water as priority number 2. What we'll do now, we'll pick the 2 priorities and subject them again to a committee which is called the technical committee, where the MP do not sit. A technical committee is made of engineers from agriculture, education, health. They are the ones who quantify those projects, and they are the ones who guide us to say, look, this ward wants water and it wants a school. From our understanding of the terrain, our understanding of the population, our understanding of the need, can we give them a court and not water? And they will give us the reasons. They will tell us that, look, these people, they want a school, but the population of learners there is 42. But the number of boards which are there are 2 versus a population of 7,000. So as a CDF committee, the technical committee will give us advice, and we shall move from water to a court. So that is how it works. And there's no single member of parliament who can bulldoze a decision. So when a decision is made to say, should we give them water or a bore? Or should we give them water or a court? You know what happens? Someone has to propose there. The other one has to second. So that is how the CDF committee sits. And I also want to tell you that in the CDF committee, we just changed the CDF committee guidelines. Do you know what happened? We included a representative from the civil society. I hope the civil society knows who that person is, who is representing them. We included a youth representative in the CDF committee now. I hope the youth in their respective constituencies, they know who represents them there. We brought on board a woman representative, and I hope the women, they know who represents them there, because there's no single person now who can say he has no voice in the CDF. We have included a disabled on the CDF committee. So it is too big. As members of parliament, we ask him, say, why are we making this committee too big? But people came, they said they needed representation. But the question is, are the public being represented properly by the people whom they sent to represent them in the CDF committee? That is a question for another day.
Obviously. Obviously, Honorable, that is a question for another day.
Questions now. honestly, if we approve all the projects and we have not approved any project which is supporting the disabled, the question is, what is that person who is representing the disabled doing in the CDF committee? If we give out all the loans without giving the young people, the question we should be asking is, what about that young person who represents young people on the CDF committee? Who does he report to? Does he give feedback? The one who represents the civil society, do we know that person? Does he give feedback which even reaches civil society organizations which are in Lusaka? For example, I'll give an example. The civil society representative who is in Itestes, from the time he was appointed, you know, civil society have got networks. There's NGOCC, there's what. I'll even give an example. The one who represents women. I don't think NGOCs have even held a workshop for all the women representatives who sits in the CDF. I don't think that has ever happened.
But we'll get to that obviously when we come back. But we are discussing the issues of the Constituency Development Fund and also other developmental aspects. And my guest is Honorable Twaambo Mutinta from Itezi, representing the people of Itezi, and of course giving his thoughts on how best CDF can be improved, how it is working in his constituencies. And before we get on a break, you do stand a chance to win yourself some amazing and fantastic prizes on the People's Space podcast. But all you simply have to do is be interactive on our platforms where the episodes broadcast. We are talking on YouTube, Facebook, under the handle the Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD Zambia, on Twitter, which is now X, and TikTok and other social media platforms. All you simply have to do is be interactive. If your comment garners enough traction, you might just be that lucky winner that may have an opportunity to perhaps not only win those fantastic, amazing prizes, but also even have a one-on-one with the Honorable Member of Parliament, who's my guest today, and get to converse and discuss several other issues relating to governance in this country. We'll take a break. See you shortly.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Wamonk na Wamoma, wherever you're watching me from, countrymen, countrywomen. My name is Jemima Mwava, and I'm also known as the female commander. I am the Unzasu Vice President-elect, and I am here to represent every student voice. So it's your voice, my command, and our change. Otherwise, catch me on the People's Space podcast. Tune in and don't forget to comment, like, and share.
Welcome back to the People's Space podcast. My guest is Honorable Twaambo Mutinta, all the way from Itezi. And of course, we are discussing administration of the Constituency Development Fund, interrogating whether it is delivering and meeting the needs of communities in his constituency, but also looking at some of the areas that can be looked into, improved, to be able to ensure that this policy does deliver outside, political expediency as others have observed. And before we get right into it, you do stand a chance to win yourself some amazing and fantastic prizes, ranging from mug cups, t-shirts, capes, and just exciting stuff, hoodies, and all kinds of memorabilia that you can get for yourself. And all you simply have to do to be that lucky winner is be interactive on the platforms where the People's Space podcast does broadcast. We are talking Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and other social media platforms under the handle the Center for Trade Policy and Development and CTPD Zambia. Honorable, you mentioned something very interesting. Your solicitation, if I may use that word, with the councillors and all those people to be able to select projects that you feel represent the wishes and needs of the people. My question would be, do we have a standardized way of conducting community assessments, that are evidence-based? Yeah, to be able to inform the decisions that are made ultimately for the selection of these projects. Do we have that as it stands?
That's a very good and important question of asked. So when the European government came into power in 2021, only 7 councils, they had what is called the Integrated Development Plan. Now, an Integrated Development Plan is a social, political, physiological plan that shows the priorities for each district. That was not there. And me, I chair the Committee on Local Government, Housing and Chiefs Affairs. As we speak now, we are close to 90% in terms of all the councils having an integrated development plan. And one of the guidelines, if you read the CDF guidelines very well, there's no council that is supposed to spend CDF without an integrated development plan. So what an integrated development plan does, it gives a very clear, well thought plan in terms of what your priorities are. But what has been happening now is a principle of agadabra, agadabra. Whoever speaks the loudest, whoever influences the most, gets the project they want. And what this has done, it has brought a development perspective which is not balanced. Let me give you an example. Last week, I was sitting in a CDF committee meeting, and I discovered that the capital projects applications, Ministry of Education, applicants for the Ministry of Education, they were close to 80. Are you getting the point? Highest. Applicants, health related, they were about 20. Applicants, security, one. One ward wanted a police post. Agriculture, 0. Vet, 0. Community development, 0. So, what does that mean? You are going to have a development perspective which is not balanced. Now, how do you explain a scenario where here's a constituency whose economy evolves around cattle? We have more cattle than people. And there's no one who is proposing that we need to construct an abattoir. There's no one who's proposing that we need to construct a cold storage or a milk collection center. There's no one who's proposing that can we construct a house for an extension officer. Are you getting the point? So what causes that is because a lot of councils, they've not had an integrated development plan so that people will be very focused to say, in the next 10 years, our vision will look like this. We'll focus on agriculture. So when you sit in the CDF committee, you will not have this situation whereby at the point when they were supposed to propose a house for an extension officer, the extension officer who sits in the CDF committee was absent. Just the absence of one person makes that project not to be captured. You know, there must be strategic and holistic planning. So the lack of an integrated development plan is what has been causing what you're asking. And the government has worked very hard in the last years. GIZ and many other stakeholders, even government itself, it has funded some of the councils to develop integrated development plans. So what? You will know that in this ward, our priorities is water and bridges. In that other word, the priority is education and agriculture. And that is what has been missing. And this is what government is trying to rectify. As a result of not having that integrated development plan, there's been a bias towards education projects. Why has there been a bias toward education project? Teachers speak the loudest in these meetings. And by the way, in the Ward Development Committee, every ministry is represented. There is a representative for the Ministry of Education, there is a representative for the Ministry of Agriculture, and also what I've experienced, the only people who sit in these meetings are teachers. Agriculture officers, they're not there. Health, he's not there. The one who represents health. So when people are now ranking what they want, the one who is speaking more English is the one who influenced the decision. So there's no member of parliament who the decisions are influenced at community level. And that is where we need to improve.
So now, one of the things that you mentioned.
Another example, do you know that there's no youth who can propose a green project? There's no youth who can write a proposal that I want to be funded for a project which is a green project.
Is that restricted to Itezi or?
Yeah, I'm giving a picture. I understand what's happening. Do you know? Let me give you an example. Do you know that there is no community that can write a CDF proposal that they want to construct a safe home? You know what a safe home is? Where you take victims of GBV women. Do you know that across the country, there's no community that can think in that man? Or what they'll think is a classroom, a clinic, what? Do you know that there's no youth? Or if there's there is one who could apply to CDF that he wants to develop an app.
Are you taking the initiative to be able to? I know, but are you
All the youths that will apply
uh,
2024,
honorable? Are you taking the initiative yourself
what I'm doing. In 2024, there were
to be able to do those things in your constituency?
170 applicants for loans and grants. Out of 170, close to 130. All of them, they applied for chicken rearing and goat keeping. 130 out of 170, they all wanted to keep goats and chicken. None of them.
Maybe there's a market.
Honestly, do you want to pollute the place? Do you want the whole place to have goats and chicken?
But what if there's a market in it is to accommodate all of them?
I don't think so. I'm giving you a picture and I want others to learn where we need to all of us work together and support the rural areas. We need to invest. Even the civil society, they are crowded in Osaka. We need to invest. There are people who have never held the pen. They want to write an application. There are people who need to be helped to think outside the box. Let me give you an example how I'm thinking outside the box. As a youthful member of parliament now, I made a decision myself that we need to construct a youth skills center. I influenced communities that we need to have a youth skills center of our own. In the entire southern province, it's only the Texas without a youth skills center. And every year, we export over 3 million to Kabwe Trades, Thorny Park, Mumbwa Trades, Kaoma Trades. That's the money that we can keep in the testers. So these are some of the unique ways of thinking that I'm giving you. Now, my office, which might not have the right capacities to support even project proposal, it has endeavored to help young people. Unfortunately, when they are helped from my office, someone will say, these are cadres. And that is a perception which is being driven because if they can't be helped, because the issue of applying, it's you to apply. I think it's very clear. There's no guideline that when you are applying when you want to apply for a school to go, the council should help you to apply, you know? There's no guidance that when you are applying for a proposal to get a loan, the council should help you. No. It's you as an individual, maybe through the community development, that should help you, who are structured in the communities. So the challenge is we need to work together with civil society. Can we go in the rural areas? Let's give our people brilliant ideas. Let's help them understand what are the gaps. Like sometimes when I sit myself, I say, okay, if I was a young person, me, I might have a lot of ideas. Places like it says, you know, this door frame, they buy door frames from Lusaka. Honestly, why can't you get a 50,000 loan and buy a machine which will be turning those door frames the way they turn them in Mandevo and Wuseko? But you find our young people will not have that capacity to think outside that box. And that's a help that my office is trying to do. But we need more people to come on board and support them. I can do that in the central. What about in the rural areas where there are those who can't read and write? That is a gap we're facing. So there's a lot that has to be done. A lot of the young people, they are still thinking in a traditional way. We need to start moving away from the traditional thinking of goat keeping, chicken rearing. We need to start seeing, and that is why we're not doing enough. That is where the gap is. We need to see a young person who says, me, I want a 50,000 grant or 100,000 grant. I've got an idea. I want to generate an app which will be telling the farmers that the rains are about to come. Are you getting the point? That is why we're missing it. That is where we are missing it, and we have a lot of work. And this is not the member of parliament's job. Me, I'm just building ideas. But also, what have I done to do things out of the box? First time, wait on, the disabled, they are now benefiting in loans and the grants. First time in the history of ETSS, over 6 groups now, they've gotten loans in ETSS. First time in the history of ETSS, the young people are the ones who are doing the desks that are in school. First time, the young people are the ones who have these contracts now of slashing the waves, ZESCO waves. Young people are doing it. This is how it starts. But I want to bemoan the fact that we have not done enough, all of us, in ensuring that we diversify the sectors where CDF should go, and also ensuring that we give innovation to the young people to stop thinking in a traditional way and come up with ideas that will make them be progressive. And the other area that we have not done well, let me just give you an example. Because in my a lot of life in the civil society, I was on gender programming.
Before you get to that, Honorable, are the people paying back in Itezitezi? Because what we've noticed is that there's a challenge in some areas where paying back of the loans and grants is not doing very well. So are the people in Itezitezi paying back? And what kind of projects are the young people investing?
So I want to mention that the honest answer is the paying back culture is bad. But out of 20 constituencies in Itezitezi, I'll tell you that if there are those that are paying, there's a district where the performance of paying back is good, I'll be one of them. Why? I've stood on a mountain to make it very clear that people should pay back their loans. We have established a loan recovery task force chaired by the DC, chaired by the officer in charge. And just last week, we managed to reclaim over 200,000 kwacha. And that 200,000 kwacha was given to others who are, both, by the way, the loans are revolving funds. Just last week, we were giving 6 new groups. Money, not that came from the ministry, but that came from what others have paid back. So we might not be at 100%, but I'll tell you that we're doing something. Now, the comment I wanted to make was on the gender issue. Maybe we're one of the few constituencies where we have awarded contracts, not contracts of grants, 50 pin, no. We have awarded the contract of over 2 million to a woman to construct a clinic. Maybe we're the first ones. So this CDF should also carry a gender perspective. Very important. Do you know that if you did a survey, an analysis of even gender representation in the CDF committees, do you know that out of the 158 constituencies, maybe there are only 3 constituencies that have a woman as a CDF chair? Have you bothered to check even in your media coverage? Have you ever come across a CDF chair already? All the people you see on the media is CDF chairman, CDF chairman. Why? There's a problem also that we need to address. At the point when people are constituting the CDF committees, at the point when people are constituting the WDC committees, as civil society, as the media, can we pay attention? We don't pay attention. These are the small things that also ensures that the issues that are coming out from the CDF are not benefiting women. The benefits are not trickling down to women because we are not paying attention even to the structures that are governing CDF. So I just needed to provoke your thinking to know that there's also a gender perspective. Today, there's no one who has done a study. And I want to implore CDF. Can you do a research in all the constituencies? Find out how many women companies have been empowered. Can we do a research to find out how many successful women got loans and they are paying back and we've got success stories? That has not been done. The Ministry of Gender has not done that. Civil society that are gender focused, they've not done that. So we should also be asking ourselves whether this CDF is benefiting women. But you can't count the women that got loans, that got grants in a group. No. we need to introspect and check how many women were given a contract of not less than 2 million to construct a bridge, to construct a school. And I'll assure you that even in Lusaka, you'll find that all the contracts have been grabbed by men.
Interesting perspectives there, Honorable. But due to the interest of time, let's now turn our attention to the issue of the Tobacco Control Bill, where you've also obviously been, playing a role in there. What I'd like to find out is we've noticed a delayed enactment of this bill, yet in Parliament, there are so many bills that we've seen introduced to the floor of the House make significant progress. Where do you think the delay is coming from? And
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think the issue with regard to the tobacco control bill, it's a very emotive issue. Myself, I sit in the parliamentary caucus on tobacco. I've been, and we have been, I've been one of the members of parliament that have been very instrumental working with our colleagues in wanting to see that the tobacco control bill comes into on the floor of the House. And I want to mention that we are looking at the tobacco control bill ourselves from the health perspective. And I think our message has been very clear. We're looking at it from the health perspective, but I am not shy to mention that the tobacco industry is proving to be emerging stronger than the civil society and we, the parliamentarians that are pushing this agenda. And that is where the advocates part is sitting. We're aware that this tobacco industry has devised a lot of tactics that are delaying this process. The tobacco industry has been attempting as much as possible to delay the process using whatever means so that this bill do not come on the floor of the House. And we've sat several meetings with various stakeholders, various ministries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Commerce, to continue to explore how this bill can come into effect, but coming into effect using a win-win scenario. You are aware that the argument that the tobacco industry is putting across is the economical argument. You are aware that from tobacco, there's a lot of benefits that are coming in terms of revenue. You know that from tobacco, there's a lot of corporate social responsibility that is coming. And from tobacco, you are aware that tobacco is one of the greatest exports we make. It also helps to stabilize the currency when we export the tobacco. So the economical side and the health side is where the issue is. And we, as members of parliament, we believe that we are standing, as much as we need the revenue that goes towards CDF, the CDF I was talking about, it comes from the same revenue. But when we do our own analysis as members of parliament from the tobacco caucus, our argument is that the benefits that are coming from tobacco, they cannot outweigh the cost, the health hazard that tobacco is causing to our people. The benefits that are coming from tobacco cannot outweigh the amount of destruction that is being caused to the young people, to the adolescents, the losses of life, and the health burden that is coming as a result of health-related illnesses from tobacco. So this is a scenario we're in. We've continued to keep our fingers crossed, anticipating that this bill will come on the floor of the House. So our job is advocacy. A member of parliament is an advocate. He's not government. He's not an executive. So our job is to continue to talk. And the assurance that I want to give the tobacco industry is that we'll continue talking. Both we've got the responsibility to protect the health of our people as representative of the people, and we've got the responsibility to ensure that we safeguard the lives of the young people. So we shall not relent. We'll continue talking. We'll continue engaging government. We continue to call upon the civil society to come on board and support us in this journey. I know we might not achieve this today, but it's a conversation that we shall not retire. It's a conversation that we shall continue discussing with all the stakeholders until one day we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. We will see this bill coming on the floor of the House, and we will see how it shall limit.
As members of parliament, I mean, you've pledged to continue championing this agenda through advocacy or within, the confines of your duties as prescribed by law. Have you been engaging in your advocacy with relevant stakeholders that are very key and instrumental to ensuring that this bill finds its way on the floor of the House sooner than expected? If so, who are the stakeholders and what feedback have you been getting?
Yeah, so like I did mention, the key stakeholders in this conversation is the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Commerce, and the Ministry of Health. So I need to make mention that several meetings have been held with these relevant stakeholders.
Mhm.
Has been given that the interest of the parliamentarians, the interest of the various civil society organizations will be taken on board. And I think so many of the times when this bill had attempted to come on the floor of House, but it went back on an assumption that we still needed to ensure that the interest of the various stakeholders, our interests, are taken on board by the executive. And this is what has been holding. So I want to mention that we have engaged all the relevant stakeholders and we leave the ball to the executive to continue being consultative and ensure that what will come on the floor of the House, it's something that represents the interest of ourselves, who are the representatives of the people. But I also want to make mention that the demands of the civil society are the demands of the members of parliament. They are not different. So what the civil society have been asking is what we believe is the right position. So what we are looking forward, what we are waiting for is the political will from government to see the argument, the perspective that we, the parliamentarians, are advancing and the NGO world is advancing, so that when we shall reach halfway, that bill shall come. And we are looking forward to a bill which will be holistic in nature. We are looking forward to a bill that will be complete. We want a bill that is not rushed. If it means the process should delay, but we get a bill that will stand the test of time. But at the center of this bill is the health aspect of our people. Then we'd rather wait a bit longer, get a bill that will stand the test of time, than rush a bill that will be half-baked and it will not represent the interest of the parliamentarians and the interest of the civil society, which we have already agreed as stakeholders.
But as we close our conversation, what are some of your recommendations with regards, implementation of the Constituency Development Fund, just countrywide?
Thank you so much, Wedson. I want to make mention that CDF is a game changer, as it has been phrased, and the CDF has transformed the rural areas. I can imagine being a member of parliament without the Constituency Development Fund. In the rural areas, the roads are being worked on, bridges are being worked on, schools are being worked on, the free education which was introduced by government is being aligned. In the rural areas, people are getting water, and these are the aspirations of the people in the rural areas, and CDF is responding to the needs of the people. As stakeholders, we need, first of all, to ensure that we hold the representation that represents us on the CDF. Can we hold the youth rep accountable? Can we hold the women rep accountable? Can we hold the NGO rep accountable on the CDF? Secondly, we all need to work together to break the cycle of ignorance which is in the rural areas. The civil society are in comfort zone. Can we leave Lusaka? Can we go to Itezes and help a poor woman who needs to be given a brilliant idea, who needs to be supported to come up with a bankable proposal? We need to come out of this comfort zone and move in the rural areas. If we do that, with the monies already sitting there, a lot of our work will be very easy. We shall move away from service delivered at civil society. We shall focus on strengthening the legal frameworks. We shall focus on influencing, because government would have trickled the monies, and the monies that are in the rural areas, they will work for the intended purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for coming through. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My guest has been Honorable Twaambo Mtinta, who is Member of Parliament for Itezitezi. And of course, we were discussing the Constituency Development Fund, getting a perspective from his constituency, interrogating whether it is delivering and meeting the needs of the people in Itezitezi. And of course, he has given those answers. And most importantly, looking at also what has delayed, what has been the drag for the tobacco control bill, of which he is playing a central role in the advocacy of the tobacco control bill. And of course, he has provided some assurance that his committee, the people that are responsible for making sure that the conversation with regards to tobacco control bill does not die, that they will remain committed to engaging several stakeholders, including those that are very key to taking back the bill on the floor of Parliament and making sure that progress is achieved thereof. And I will again announce to everybody that you can be that lucky winner. We've got so much that we need to give out, and we can only give out if we have somebody who does win. So take advantage, be interactive, and if one of your comments on the platforms such as YouTube and Facebook under the handle of the Center for Trade Policy and Development gets enough traction, you can be the lucky winner. And the same on the platforms such as Twitter and TikTok, where the handle is CityPD Zambia. If you comment on one of these episodes, if your thoughts on what Honorable was saying during this episode garners enough traction, you might just be the person that we will give out a nice hoodie, proper quality, a very good t-shirt, nice, excellent quality, a cape, a mug cup,